Hello everyone. Today I am going to explain the solution of Tute Sheet 1. In Tute Sheet 1, you are having the questions related to the sequence and series. The question number 1, you have to find the nth term of this sequence. This. So here it is a sequence 1, minus 1, 1, minus 1 and so on. So what is the nth term of this sequence? Since we know that what is the nth term, it is that formula by which we can generate the whole sequence by substituting n to be 1, 2, 3 and so on. So after looking this sequence, the terms of this sequence, we can find out its nth term. Since its first term is 1, second term is minus 1, third term is 1, fourth term is minus 1. So therefore the nth term of the sequence will be minus 1 to the power n plus 1, where n is any natural number. Now just see, if you put n to be 1, what will you have? Your first term will be minus 1 to the power 1 plus 1, which is 2. So minus 1 whole square will be plus 1. So that is your first term, right? What is the second term when you put n to be 2? When you put n to be 2, you will have minus 1 to the power 2 plus 1, which is 3. So minus 1 to the power 3 gives you minus 1. So in this way we can generate the whole sequence if nth term is given to us, or if sequence is given to us, by identifying we can generate the nth term of the sequence. Now just see the next B part. Here we are having a sequence 1, 4, 9, 16 and so on. So its nth term will be what? N square. Now if you observe, you will find out that the first term is 1, but the next term is the square of 2. The third term is the square of 3, right? So it means it is n square, where n is any natural number. Now the next C part. In C part we are having a sequence 1, minus 4, 9, minus 16 and so on. Now this is same as that above, but we are having the alternate signs. So we can substitute nth as, we can have this nth term as n square with alternate signs. So for alternate sign we can use this minus 1 to the power n plus 1 into n square. Now just see the D part. Here in the D part you are having the sequence as minus 3, minus 2, minus 1, 0, 1, 2, 3 and so on. So the nth term will be n minus 4. When you put n to be 1, you will have the first term, which is a1 is equal to 1 minus 4, which is minus 3. When you put n to be 2, you will have this is 1 minus 4, 2 minus 4, which is minus 2 and so on. E part, you are having a sequence 1, 0, 1, 0 and so on. So here the first term is 1, second term is 0, third term is 1, fourth term is 0 and so on. It means whenever your n is odd, you require the term to be 1, and when your n is even, the terms are 0. So it can be written as minus 1 minus minus 1 to the power n by 2. When you put n to be 1, you will have this is 1 plus 1 by 2, which is 1. When you put n to be 2, you will have 1 minus 1, which is 0 and so on. Now the F part, the sequence is 0, 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3 and so on. So here the nth term will be greatest integer n by 2. When you put n to be 2, n to be 1, you will have this is greatest integer of half. What is the greatest integer of half? It is 0. So your first term is 0. When you put n to be 2, you will have this is 2 by 2 greatest integer, which is 1. That is your second term. When you put n to be 3, the greatest integer of 3 by 2, which is again 1. That is your third term and so on. So in this way we can generate the nth term of the sequence. Now the next question is, determine which of the following sequences are non-decreasing and bounded from above. For non-decreasing, we will check either an minus an plus 1 is less than equal to 0, or an divided by an plus 1 is less than equal to 1, or we can find out the derivative of this function. If the derivative is strictly greater than 0, your sequence is increasing, or you can say non-decreasing. Now, how to check the bounded from above? We can apply non-decreasing sequence theorem over here, since we know that a non-decreasing sequence of real numbers is convergent if and only if it is bounded from above. Moreover, it converges to its least upper bound. So, first of all, we check the difference of nth and n plus 1th term, whether it is less than equal to 0 or greater than equal to 0. Then we will find out the limit of it. If it is convergent, we will say our sequence is bounded from above. So nth term is given to you 3n plus 1 upon n plus 1. Find out n plus 1 1th term by replacing n with n plus 1. You just simplify this, you will have this. Now take the difference of these two, simplify it. Okay, you will have this is minus 2 upon this. Clearly the denominator is always positive and numerator is always negative, so this whole term is less than equal to 0. This is less than equal to 0 means your an is less than equal to an plus 1. It means your sequence is increasing. So whenever your sequence is increasing and it is convergent, then by using non-increasing sequence theorem, it is always bounded from above, right? So now you just find out the limit of it. When you find out the limit, after simplifying, you will have this is 3, which is finite and unique. So your sequence is convergent and it converges to 3. So by using non-decreasing sequence theorem, our sequence is bounded above by the number 3. Now just see the second part. In the second question, you are given a sequence of the form 2n plus 3 factorial upon n plus 1 factorial. Again, find out its n plus 1th term. Now since we are having the factorial, so we will prefer the ratio. We will divide an with an plus 1, simplify it. If it is less than equal to 1, then we will say an is less than equal to an plus 1, means our sequence is increasing, or you can say non-decreasing. Next we will find out its limit. Now since its limit is infinity, it means our sequence is not convergent. It means it is not bounded from above, right? In the third part, your sequence is 2 to the power n, 3 to the power n over n factorial. Find out n plus 1th term. Again we are having the factorials and power, so we can find out the ratio. Just simplify this, we will have this is n plus 1 by 6. And clearly this number will be less than equal to 1 whenever your n is 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Otherwise it is strictly greater than 1. So our sequence is increasing only for first 5 terms, right? After that our sequence is decreasing. So next we will find out its limit. Since we know that by standard limits the limit of x to the power n over n factorial is 0 for any x, so this limit will be 0. Now since our sequence is convergent, so clearly it will be bounded, right? Now just see the behavior of the terms of the sequence. What is given to us that a1 is less than equal to a2 is less than equal to a3 till up to a6, right? When you put n to be 5. So till up to a6 you are satisfying these condition, and after 6 you will have this relation. So a6 is greater than equal to a7 is greater than equal to a8 and so on. When you combine these two, what will you have? Every term is less than equal to a6. Our a6 is the biggest term of this sequence, right? Each number of the sequence is less than equal to a6. So our sequence is bounded above by the number a6. Now you just put n to be 6 in the given sequence. You will get the value of a6. You just simplify this. This is 64.8. So our sequence is increasing for n varying from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it is bounded from above by the number a6, which is 64.8. Now the last part. In this we are having a sequence of the form 2 minus 2 by n minus 1 to the power 2n. You just find out n plus 1th term by replacing n with n plus 1. Now take the difference of these two, Simplify this, we will have this is a negative number for every n. So clearly an is less than equal to an plus 1 means our sequence is increasing. Now you just find out the limit of it. Since it is convergent, converging to 2, so by using non-decreasing sequence theorem, our sequence is bounded above by the number 2. This number 2 is the least upper bound of the sequence. Now the next question, this question says that, is it true that a sequence of positive number must converge if it is bounded from above? Give reason for your answer. Now what is given to us? We are given that a sequence is a sequence with positive numbers. A sequence is bounded from above. Now we have to check whether it is always convergent or not. So this is not true always. Why? Because we are having an example of the sequences which are positive, which are bounded from above but not convergent. Right? So no, it is not always true that a sequence of positive number must converge if it is bounded from above. You can see with the help of this example, if you consider the sequence to be 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, this sequence is having the positive numbers and it is bounded above by the number 2. All the terms of the sequence is less than equal to 2. But when you find out the limit is not unique, because for n odd it converges to 1, for n even it converges to 2. Right? So this is not always true. Now the question number 4, this says that determine which of the following sequences converge and diverge, give reason and find the limit of each convergent sequence. So in case to find out the convergence and divergence of the sequence, we will find out the limit of the nth term as n approaching to infinity. If it is finite and unique, you will say your sequence is convergent. So we consider limit n going to infinity of an, where an is 1 minus 1 by n. You will have this is 1. When you put n tending to infinity, this term is going to 0. So this is one which is finite and unique, so our sequence is convergent and the limit is 1. The next sequence is n minus 1 by n. Now take its limit as n approaching to infinity, we will have infinity minus 0, which is infinity. So the sequence is not convergent. Now the third part, this is 2 to the power n minus 1 upon 2 to the power n. When you simplify this and find out the limit as n approaching to infinity, we will have this is 1, which is finite and unique, so our sequence is convergent and its limit is 1. In the D part, again our sequence is converging to 2 whenever n is even. Now just see, this number is approaching to 1 whenever n is going to infinity. When you take n to be common in the numerator, it will be cancelled out with the denominator and you will get this limit is 1. But when your n is even, this number is again 1. So 1 plus 1 is 2 into 1, which is 2. So whenever your n is even, the limit is 2. But whenever your n is odd, you will get minus 1 plus 1, which is 0. So we are having different limits. The limit is not unique, so this sequence is not convergent. In E part, when you find out the limit of this, you will have this is 2, which is finite and unique, so our sequence is convergent and the limit is 2. In G part, we are having the infinity by infinity form, so we can apply the L'Hopital rule. We can find out the derivative of ln n and ln 2n and simplify it. We have this is finite and unique limit, so our sequence is convergent and the limit is 1. In H part, we will use this standard limit. The limit of 1 plus x by n whole to the power n is convergent and it converges to e to the power x. Whatever the number over here, it converges to that, e to the power x. So 3n plus 1 upon 3n minus 1, we can take 3n to be common in the numerator as well as in denominator. It will be cancelled out and we will left with this. Now this is the same form. So by using this standard limit, it will be converging to e to the power 1 by 3 and it is converging to e to the power minus 1 by 3. So this is converging to e to the power 2 by 3, which is finite and unique number. So this sequence is convergent and it converges to e to the power 2 by 3. So this is the limit of this sequence. The same way we can do the ith part. We can make the factors over here. 1 minus 1 over n square can be written as 1 minus 1 by n. into 1 plus 1 by n. So again we can use this standard limit. So it is converging to e to the power minus 1. It is converging to e to the power 1. So that is 1. So this sequence is convergent and the limit is 1. Now in jth part, if when you find out the limit of tan inverse infinity, we are having this is pi by 2, which is finite and unique. So our sequence is convergent and the limit is pi by 2. In kth, we are having infinity minus infinity form. So we can solve it by taking the rationalization of it. So when you rationalize it and simplify it, we are having the limit be half whenever n is approaching to infinity. Now since this number is unique and finite, so our sequence is convergent and the limit is half. The same with the lth part, you can rationalize it and you can simplify it. You are having the you will get that its limit is minus 2 whenever your n is approaching to infinity. So this sequence is convergent and the limit is minus 2. In question number 5, we are having the series and we have to find out the sum of the following series if it is convergent. So in the A part, we are having this series. This is GP series with the first term 1 and the common ratio minus half. Since by GP series test, we know that the given series is convergent if the mod of R is strictly less than 1, and here the common ratio is half, which is strictly less than 1. So the series is convergent and it converges to A upon 1 minus R. So this will become the sum of the series. Now you just substitute the value of A and R. Simplify this, you will get the value of the sum of this GP series. In the second part, this is your telescoping series. Whenever you are having a series of this form, you make the partial fractions. Then you find out the sum of first 10 terms, means sequence of partial sums. You just simplify this, you will get that all the terms inside it will be cancelled out and you will left with the first and the last term. When you find out the limit of it, if it is finite and unique, you will say your series is convergent, and whatever the limit of this Sn, that will become the sum of this series, right? So we can find out the sum by using the GP series or by using the sequence of partial sums. The same way in the C part, you can make the partial fractions, then you can find out Sn, and then you can find out limit of it. If it is finite and unique, you will say your series is convergent, and whatever the limit, that will become the sum of the series. The same with the D part. In question 6, find the value of B for which this given series is convergent and it converges to 9. So here sum is already given to us, it means our series is convergent. It means the ratio is strictly less than 1. So here the first term is 1 and the common ratio is e to the power b. Since it is a GP series, so we know that GP series is convergent, then it converges to A upon 1 minus R. Now you just substitute the value of A and R. Simplify this, you will have the value of B. In question number 7, you have to find out for what values of R does the infinite series this converge, and also find its sum if it is convergent. So now it is a sum of two GP series. You can combine the terms 1 R square R to the power 4 R to the power 6 as one GP series, and 2R 2R cube 2R5 as second GP series. Both the series has the common ratio R square. So by GP series test, we know that whenever the common ratio mod is strictly less than 1, the given series is convergent. So whenever mod of R square is less than 1 means mod of R is less than 1. Both these series are convergent and they are converging to A upon 1 minus R. So the first GP series converging to 1 upon 1 minus R square. The next GP series is converging to 2R upon 1 minus R square. Take the sum of it, you will have the sum of this series provided mod of R is strictly less than 1. Now this is last question of tute sheet 1. This says that you have to find an example of two divergent infinite series whose term by term sum converges. Now just see, we can take series an to be as 1 over square root of n. Clearly this series is divergent by P series test because its value of P is half, which is strictly less than 1. You can consider the series Bn to be 1 over square root of n plus 1 with minus sign. You can apply the integral test over this. Now since it is divergent, so When you multiply with a constant term, the constant multiple of divergent is again divergent, so Bn series is divergent. But when you add term by term of the series An and Bn, this will become telescoping series. And when you find out the sequence of partial sums, and when you find the limit, this limit is finite and unique, so the given series is convergent. So the sum of two divergent series need not be divergent, it may be convergent. So this is an example for that. So with this, Tute sheet 1 solution is completed.